Welcome to Work From Your Happy Place, the podcast that equips you with the knowledge and inspiration to live your dreams and find your own happy place. You will be encouraged by and learn from entrepreneurs and artists who are already working from their happy place, all while pursuing their passion with a purpose. Be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter for a recap of the week's guests and a preview of what's in store. We also have two special gifts for you: a video, The 5 Core Principles to Living a Happier Life, and a printable download titled Top 10 Sales Strategies. Go to workfromyourhappyplace.com/free. Fill out the attached form to receive your gifts and be added to our newsletter. And now, here's your host, Belinda Ellsworth.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited about our guest today. I have Reisa Schwartzman with me, and she is the president and founder of Gridley Games and is also the president of one of Vancouver's leading developers, Cape Construction. So it is my pleasure to welcome Reisa to our show today.
Thanks for having me, Belinda. It's always a pleasure to come and talk to you and to share ideas.
Yes, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Tell us a little bit about Gridley Games and how you're serving others today.
Thank you. So Gridley Games started surprisingly over 15 years ago. I took it over from a company that had asked me to invest in it, and frankly, the guy was a crook. So I took over the company and I threw myself into the toy world, which I didn't know that much about, which is not ever the best way to go into a business, but it was the way I got into this one. And I had to start learning how to understand the industry. And along the way, I started off calling our company Gridley Games because we took over a company called Heads Games, but their main game was called Gridley Heads. So I kept the Gridley, thinking that was the best idea, and the idea is that also our games were for people across the grid. So that's where we kept the name Gridley, and started designing our own games. And what I found with my background, I have a background in exercise physiology and psychology, and I taught dancing for 19 years in my beginning of my career. And I have a family business, as you mentioned, of construction and actually development and asset management. So the idea of building something and creating something and having 3 children and now 3 grandchildren, it all kind of came together, and I started designing board games. And so we continued to sell games, and we found out that they were mostly educational. It kind of evolved. My business evolved opposed to was very focused. I was trying to get back my original investment. And I found that I was designing STEM games: science, technology, engineering, and math, which really spoke to me. So being, as a young student, for me, my favorite things were always science and math. So I guess that's what was coming out of me, the way I was designing my games. And that was really what was really great to see, something that you could create like before I was teaching dance and being a choreographer and coaching a high level of gymnastics. You see the one-on-one right away, and you see the instant gratification. As a teacher, you can see the efforts and the rewards. And as a parent, you can see the efforts and the reward that you get. But designing a product, your end product goes to someone you don't know. But every once in a while, someone will send in a review, or someone will write you back and just telling you about that wonderful experience that they had. And that is really quite meaningful to me. So for me, what drives me in this business as well is bringing these quality products to the kids. And along the way, I had this one experience that I saw, and I thought, I love this idea of dancing milk, and it's a really aha moment. And I really believe in experiential learning. And again, because I was involved in the whole science thing, and that really science excites me, we created these products, these kits that could help kids learn science and art about one topic. And again, it would be expansive and experiential and give kids aha moments. And that gave me a lot of meaning. So I pursued that. So I guess that's a little bit about me. I'm not sure if I answered it exactly correctly, but having the ability to to bring all of my experiences together is kind of what's ended me here today.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm sure some people are curious because I'm curious. So you were an investor because you said I didn't really have a background in children's toys or in the toy market. So what led you to investing in the business in the first place? Because that's a curiosity.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was again a mixture of a few things. One was we had a warehouse, and somebody came to ask us if they could lease our space, and he needed help to kind of fulfill his first order, and he rented space from us, and I helped fill orders. And when I realized my investment was more substantial than I should have, I took shares in the partnership, and then I realized the guy was a crook, so I took over the business. Everybody kind of figures they know a little bit about the toy industry because we've all played with toys, we've all bought toys. It's very in your face, the toy world, in that there's commercials. We all buy toys for our children, for ourselves, for our friends, and so people feel that they understand it. But also because I was in the building world, I understood sometimes some of the things that you had to do a production of things.
Sure.
And there's always a learning curve in every business you go in. So yeah, so I learned a little bit by the previous, like just thinking, and then a lot by doing a lot of wrong things and learning all the right ways to do it. So I learned the hard way to be in this business.
So by introducing toys, this is another thought that I had because I think you're unique in that space of science and engineering and math and all of that is oftentimes not woman led. And I'm sure by introducing this in a game format, you're probably introducing a lot of young girls into the wonderful world of science and math and engineering.
I hope so. I hope I am. I in our games, we really try to make sure they're appealing to both boys and girls, very
Mm-hmm.
unisex. We try to make the play not obvious, like the learning curve. The play is supposed to be enjoyable, and through that play, through that experience, you're getting that exposure. We have in our kits the Just Add line where there's science and arts. You can usually attract the girls through the arts. They'll all want to do like an arts and craft activity, but oh wow, I'm learning that when you put baking soda with vinegar, you can get an explosion, right? And what is the reaction of that? Or how does I'm trying to make crystals, and oh, I'm making sugar candy, but oh, I'm learning about crystallization. So through the experiential learning of some of the art, they're also learning science. And then the reverse for the kids who are science based. Oh, I'm making crystals, I'm making candy, but oh, I'm also making an art. So you can balance it. It's a nice introduction to
Sure.
realize that art does not stand on its own, and neither does science. The world really comes together in many ways.
Oh, that's wonderful. Absolutely. So, in your field of expertise now, so maybe that field of expertise is designing, maybe it's construction, maybe it's, you know, getting engagement like with kids. Like, what would you say are three tips that you could give other people, maybe like for parents, even? Maybe that's the question in your field of expertise. What are three ways that parents can engage more with their kids to make learning a different experience?
So I think that there's no one answer because every child has their own learning style. So I think you have to be respectful of that. Assuming, though, on an average level, how do I do that? I mean, I think it's important to see what their kids are excited about. If you're and and then sit down with your kid. Kids take time. I mean, you can't just throw something at them and assume that they're going to read the instructions and learn how to play a game or how to do a kit. They can maybe do it later on, but the initial time. So number one is you got to spend time with them. I mean, more and more research shows the kids that are successful are the kids that get the time with their parents. Um, and I know everybody's working, and so it doesn't always have to be huge volume. It should be as much volume as you can, but it's also quality. So you're spending quality time with your kids, which is number one. So you're showing them that you care. Number two is if you engage in this and get excited about it as well. So if you're passionate about this, like, oh, wow, we're doing, you don't have to say we're doing math, but if like I have a game that has grafting involved and you go, wow, look, when I go under two and over two, I get over, there's ways that you can engage with pleasure and joy and that positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement, obviously, and just giving them different experiences. So having them have an opportunity to do something in math, something in art, something that's silly, something, and to just encourage that positive reinforcement of different choices.
Perfect.
So
So everybody, yeah, absolutely. So everybody's got their own set of superpowers, like their own skill sets that have sort of helped them along their journey of success and of life. And what have you identified as yours? What makes you unique and stands out that has helped you really navigate this world of entrepreneurship, or like you run two successful businesses?
So, I mean, superpowers come in different places that you don't always expect it. And sometimes I think your superpower is also your super weakness. It's always a double edge, right?
Yeah.
Superman had all the, his kryptonite crushed his superpower. I think one is I look at things always in a positive way. I try to find what everything I do, I try to find the positive side of it. I think that that's something that, even if it's something hard, to find how do I bring the joy out of it and try and bring joy out of everything I do, even when it's hard. The other superpower is I'm not afraid to try and try hard. So I think I try hard in everything I do, and I do it with passion. And I think those are powers that you can control yourself. Uh-huh. And so I think those are my two superpowers. I mean, there's lots of things that you can be good at that will take you in different directions. But I think in everything you do, you have to be passionate about with what you do and try and really enjoy it, because we're at it for a long time. And,
right.
And not to be afraid to fail, just to get up and go and do, and because we're going to fail. There's no question. We're going to, something's going to happen that's going to go wrong. And then you have to stick to it. So I think those are my superpowers, being able to stick to something and do it with passion.
So you do have two successful businesses. So how do you navigate the running of two completely different entities?
They're full days, that's for sure. I have wonderful people around me that support me in these things. I don't do it alone. So that would be very important, to make sure you've got good people around you. And I guess, I've always been a multitasker, so I keep both businesses in the same office. And I prioritize that. Certain times there are things that take priority of one business and certain jobs that take priority on others. And I make a lot of lists and go through the lists and meet with my staff and prioritize what they can take and what I can do. And I like the big picture and conceptualize, and then not to be afraid to delegate, which isn't always easy. It's not always easy to delegate, but you have to learn how to delegate.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's being okay with delegating. It's like learning to let go of, am I really the only person that can do this? And I think some people just really feel that way. Like, I have to do this. And I've had coached people and they're like, but I could do it better, but somebody else can do it. And then they will learn to do it better if you give them the opportunity. I think that's the difference.
I agree. And sometimes you can learn yourself. Actually, I feel like I'm always learning. I think that when you bring, the old team together, everyone achieves more, TEAM, and there's no I in team, right? So I've always kind of lived by those principles that the people you bring to your table make a stronger team. And, in the construction and the development, I work in a family business. I worked with my dad up until he passed, and the day before he passed at night, just before he was 92. And I work with 34-year-old son, and we all have similar strengths, but we also have our own unique strengths, and we all bring those to the table. And then we have accountants, and we have, we bring people together
Sure.
to make our full circle. Yeah.
That's great. So, greatest accomplishment, like a pinch me moment. What is something in business that has been just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened?
Well, as a mom, you always put your family first. At least I do.
Sure.
So my biggest accomplishment is always my family. So
Sure.
my three great, amazing boys that I'm very proud of, and three beautiful grandchildren so far, which I also adore. But my business, so in the construction and development, I think I have different answers.
Okay.
In the construction and development, we've built communities and know that we've changed communities because of projects we've done. And that seems to be the consistent thing. That someone once asked me that, and a banker once asked me that, and I started listing things, and I realized, oh, it's how we changed our community and how we brought things to our community and made our communities better. And that brings a lot of meaning to me.
Sure.
And then from the toy world, it's kind of the same. It's like, it's not that I just invented the most amazing toy. It wasn't that I just had the best sale ever, because that's one way of grading, is how much money you make. But for me, what grades things for me is, did I bring meaning to the world? Did I make it a better place? Is what I've done more helping making this place better, or helping kids have more experiences? So for me, I probably would say the greatest accomplishment is bringing really quality products to children and families, and that they are able to have better lives. So for me, that's my greatest accomplishment, is I'm hoping to better other people's lives.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, greatest challenge. What's one of the challenges, especially in the toy business, that you encountered? And then how did you work through that?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of really wonderful, wonderful toy companies in the world, and some of them are really big. So the hard part about being a small entrepreneur, which I am in this industry, is finding your marketplace and getting out there to the world.
Yes.
And there's lots of opportunities, like even having an interview with you, or today you can be on TikTok and different things like that. But our biggest challenge is just getting in front of enough of the end buyers, being small, because we can't afford to go on television with $100,000 commercials that you need to repeat 20 times before anybody even buys you. So I think that's the greatest challenge, is how do you get in front of your buyer in a meaningful way that makes them buy you in an affordable way to do it.
I think that that is probably anybody who is an entrepreneur, a smaller business owner. I think that's probably one of their greatest challenges, is everybody's greatest challenge. So, what are some of the ways that you do that?
So we try on many fronts. We, of course, our social media, I think, is our biggest option.
Sure.
And we use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We use TikTok. We're starting to look at, but we also go to trade shows.
Yeah.
We do interviews. We do contests. We what are some of the things that we do? I think those are like the majority of things that we're doing. And just having in-store shows where, if you have a presence around the holidays, we'll try and get some of our local toy stores to have us come in, and we can showcase our product, and our sales are exponential, because people might not know to look for you, but if you're more open and showing yourselves, it's amazing what your sales can do. So that's always a good option, is being in front of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is kind of our signature question of the show, and that is, what does working from your happy place mean to you?
It's a great question. I've never really been asked that question, but I think working from my happy place, I think, means like, where am I happy? And I think I kind of mentioned a little bit before. I mean, I'm lucky because I get to work with family, so that's a joy. I get to work with my family, and so I'm never isolated, so that's always a joyful thing to do. But I also think it's like, because I try to find meaning in everything I'm doing and joy in everything I'm doing, every day it's filled with happy. Not to say it's always easy, because there's lots of things that aren't easy, but how you approach your challenges, how you accomplish your goals. I set our goals, and then we forge forward, and I try to do it always with joy. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the answer to that, but I think it's the attitude that and what you're trying to accomplish, that brings you that meaning and happy place.
Sure. And the really cool thing is it's your answer. Like, it's what it is to you. So there's no right, wrong, or in between answer.
It would be nice to see like a full list, a whole data sheet of everybody's happy answers.
I'm working on that, actually, because it's been like, this is now we're well over 600 episodes. And
Yeah.
what's interesting is there are 6 common answers, and I've learned to like hear those. And then there's a whole bunch of outliers. So, but there are 6 common answers that are repeated again and again. And what I've learned is it depends on where people are in their journey of entrepreneurship or their business, their age, like how long they've been doing it. And it's really, it's almost pretty predictable. And I didn't figure that out until probably year 4 of doing this podcast. Like, okay, now I'm putting that together. Why that's important to this person, because they're in their 20s, and that's the most important thing, right? And in here, this person's in their 50s, and it's a much different thing. They've gone through the freedom, they've gone through this, and now really it's about impact, right? And as you're kind of been doing the business for a while, it is more about the impact that you're leaving with other people and the contribution. And so it's just interesting. It's been very interesting to see
That
that.
makes a lot of sense.
So what advice would you give to someone just wanting to start their own business? Like, yours was kind of thrown in your lap, but then you've also had this family business. But what advice would you give to someone that is like, gosh, I really would love to start something?
Well, I think you used the word that was important, with love. So I think everybody has to tell their own story in their journey through work. Sometimes we don't have choices and you have to take a job, but if you're taking the risk to live outside of the box and be an entrepreneur, number one is you can't be afraid to try, and you can't be afraid to fail, because there's a good chance you will fail and you have to get up and start again. I think you have to be ready to work hard, because nothing is easy. If anybody tells you it's easy, either they're not telling you the whole story or don't believe them.
Right.
So don't be afraid to try. Know that you're going to have to work hard. I think it has to be something that you're passionate about, because you're going to be doing it for a long time, because hard work takes time. So love what you're doing, and make sure it's something that you believe in, not just something that you love, but something you believe in, because on those hard days, it's easy to get through stuff it's easier to get through things that are hard because you believe in it and that you're passionate about it.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, I think those are probably the things that you want to have for a successful life and a successful business.
Absolutely. So, any new and exciting things that you're working on that you'd love our listeners to know about? And also, where can people find you and your great products?
Okay, so right now our company is called Gridley Games, and we are going to be launching at Toy Fair, which is going to be in September in New York, our company as Gridley Kids, because we are originally, we started off as our wonderful STEM games, which we have these fantastic STEM games, and then we moved into STEAM Kits, which one could say is like a game, but STEAM Kits are science and art activities. And those are fantastic group of STEAM kits. And now we're moving into water toys and water friends. And I can't totally show everything, but we're going to be moving into our STEM water toys. We're going to be 100% silicone-based toys that are STEM, that will teach your kid how to play in the water and explore ways of, even at the little age of 18 months and 2 years old, will start understanding things like displacement and buoyancy and density, and how do you do it safely and productively, and at the start of that. So we have little things kind of floating around, but I can't show you too much yet because I would be not in following the rules of my own business model. So we're launching in September as Gridley Kids, and we'll bring out a whole new another line, and we're really excited about that.
Oh, that sounds so much fun. So where can people find you, find your products?
Sure, we're on Amazon, hopefully at your local favorite children's toy store. If you're in Canada, we're in all the Indigo, or chapters, I should say. They're all Indigo now. And if you don't have it in your local stores, you can always reach out to us. We're gridleygames.com, GRIDDLY games with an S.com. So you can always reach out to us and we can help you. Love to hear from any of your listeners and share with them some more of our products.
Perfect. I'm sure you're on all the social channels as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Okay,
reach out.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Reisa, This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and just sharing. I think the common denominator of this was, love what you do, be willing to work hard, and be willing to show up every day with a purpose. And so I love that. Those are 3 extremely important things. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
Well, thank you for taking the time and letting me tell my story.
Yeah, absolutely. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you. We know you have a choice of where to spend your time, and we are so grateful that you chose to spend it with us today. Make sure that you share this. That's the greatest form of compliment that you can give Reisa or myself, is to share this with a friend. Follow us on Instagram, or subscribe so that you don't miss a single great episode. And with that, we'll see you next time on Work from Your Happy Place.